basically what happened was we saw on TV the first plane crash into Building 1. We got called at the desk saying an incident happened. Originally they thought it was a small plane, but as we saw on TV, it was a rather large aircraft that hit the side of Building 1. We ended up being told to get mobilized. My wife called the police desk and she asked for me. I said, yeah, I know about what the incident. I'm getting mobilized and to go down to the Trade Center. Mm-hmm. There were 13 of us that left LaGuardia. Myself, several police officers, a sergeant, lieutenant, and our inspector at the time, Joe Morris. He then later became chief of the department after 9/11.
And your title then?
Police officer.
You were a police officer, right?
Yeah. We got detectives that came with us, like I said, sergeant, lieutenant.
A police officer with the
Port Authority Police.
Port Authority Police.
Yeah, we did both. We do both police work and aircraft firefighting. We do the crash. It's called crash fire rescue.
So you got the call to
get mobilized.
And then
we jumped in a rescue truck that we had and 3 other police cars. We went down and drove down to the Trade Center. The roads were completely clogged and shut down at the time we left because it was a complete mobilization by NYPD and NYFD. We pulled up about somewhere after the second plane had hit on the corner of West Street and VC Street.
After the second plane had hit,
yeah.
When you pulled up?
Yeah, right by the Verizon building and right next to the Building 1 was West Street.
Now,
West
when
Street,
you originally
VC.
went out there, it was one plane that hit the side. What
Yeah.
were you thinking when you heard this report come in?
Well, when we arrived, we saw the other building on fire and flames.
No, I mean when you got the first report that came into the police department.
Yeah.
What did you think was going on at that time? That somebody?
I knew it was a terrorist attack.
You knew it right off the bat from the first plane.
Well, I saw the hole in the plane in 9/11. It stuck right out of my head. Because we were trained originally after the '93 bombing that the original thing was to hoping that the building would collapse in the '93 bombing.
Right.
So we knew that something, at least I felt as if I knew something was in real danger.
When you got there, the second plane had crashed into the other building there. So then what was going on?
Basically, our bosses told us to stand outside and direct the people out of the building safely. He said, we'll find out where we're going and what we're going to do. That was my Inspector Morris. Within about 10 minutes, he said, we're not going into the building due to the fact that the building swayed and moved more than it was built for from the impact. He basically directed us to stay under the walkway which left Building 1 across to the American Express building. We stayed out underneath the walkway by Building 1, directing people out of the building, not to go to the right or the left.
Out of the building.
Yeah, stay under the walkway. That was due to the fact that people were jumping out the windows, coming down.
Did you see these people jumping out windows?
This was covered with blood and dust and dirt. I thought water was coming down on me, but after I came home that night, I cleaned it down. I felt wet, and when I touched it with my bare hands, it was red.
Sure, but that had to be just a horrifying. What was going through
They had
your
a choice
head?
of one of 3 things: burn to death, suffocate, or jump. That was my 3 feelings that they had.
I mean, it had to be a sickening sight.
I saw a man and woman holding hands coming down. When they hit the ground, there was nothing left. Now, that's one of the reasons why you never found people. Within that time frame where I was standing and directing people out, all of a sudden I heard a noise. I looked to my right and saw the beginning of the tube to collapse.
Of the
collapse of building number 2.
Building number 2. Now you were in safe. Where were you located?
Well, when I saw the building start to come down, I ran back to where our rescue truck was parked, right on an island on West Street. Myself and 2 other police officers that were there. and we ran into the truck. The truck kind of pitched, I'd probably say about 18 to 20 degrees from the concussion wave of the building. We stayed in there until it was cleared. Got out, and then we moved the truck up a block or two up further and started to go back to building 1. And at that time, people were running back and running up the block. The dust wave went probably about 15, 18 blocks up from the first building too. By the time I got to the corner by the Verizon building by VZ, looked up and started to see the TV antenna start coming down, so turned around and started hairtailing it back the other direction. 2 buses came down with doctors, EMTs, and paramedics, and we started to set up for casualties. We went outside, and anybody that was going by wasn't seriously hurt. They were just basically dirty from all the dust and debris coming down. New York City Con Ed was concerned about the gas conditions. They asked the volunteers to come out, which a bunch of us went out. We went to different locations on the block to shut off the gas lines feeding into Lower Manhattan. I know personally, with a group of 4 of us, we had the big barrel wheels connected, and we spun the closing the valves. I closed personally 3 of them with 3 other police officers and 2 Con Ed guys.
What was going through your head while all this was going on? We just had 2 planes, 2 terrorist attacks. What were you thinking of it? Were you thinking, is there going to be more? What was going through? There had to be just
well, actually,
so traumatic.
From the '93 bombing, we were told that with the extra planes that were missing, we thought right away was that another plane was going to not crash into the building, crash into the rescuers, kill us all.
You thought there was another plane. You didn't know.
We basically knew that there were 1 or 2 other planes missing. One was thinking was the fact that it was coming down to the area and crash into the ground. Actually, after the first one came down, we heard a jet noise coming down the Hudson, and basically my thought was, here comes the missing aircraft to crash and kill us all. But basically, it was 4 fighter jets coming down supersonic down the Hudson. We heard the booms and saw them zip around, and then they were flying around to make sure nothing else came. And then I came home, got home about, I guess it was around 10:30. Kids didn't, my wife didn't know whether I was alive or dead till I walked in the door.
15 years later now, here we are, and you're setting up here at the Valerie. What are we doing here at the Valerie now? This is a tribute, or
yeah, basically for people to come and see exactly what we have. We have actually a lady that actually will be here on Sunday. Her name is Eileen Carisi. She donated a book of all 37 police officers that were killed in the line of duty that she had. She worked for the graphic art design in the Port Authority. So we have all 37 police officers that were killed in the line of duty.
And you're going to be displaying some memorabilia. You've got your jacket,
yeah,
you wore, this is your helmet, that piece of metal. You have a piece of metal or something?
Actually, July of 2012, we went up with 2 deputies, Deputy Todd Farnham and Joe Faraday. We went up to New York, stayed in my house. We picked up the piece of, what I thought was a piece of steel. It's actually a part of the sphere from the '93 bombing. We're the only county in America that has a piece from the '93 bombing. And then I went back up in May of 2012, my daughter's best friend's wedding. Met a guy that I worked with at LaGuardia, and he said he had a piece of steel. And I came back from the wedding with the piece of steel that's on the floor in my own personal car and brought it down back here.